There is a secret hidden in the dust that settles on your bookshelf. There is a profound mystery locked inside the steam rising from a cup of tea, swirling and vanishing into the cold morning air. We often look at the world and see things breaking down. We see flowers wilt. We see castles crumble. We see the coffee grow cold and the stars grow dim. We are taught to fear this decay, to look at the disorder of our lives and feel a sense of loss, a sense of failure. But tonight, I want you to close your eyes and let me tell you a different story. What if I told you that this falling apart, this slow drift into chaos, is not a tragedy? What if I told you that the universe is not dying but simply relaxing? What if the greatest law of physics, the one that governs the fate of every atom in your body, is actually a cosmic permission slip to finally, truly, let go? Welcome to the Theory of Silence channel. I am here to guide you into that deep, velvet darkness where science meets slumber. Before we drift too far, if you find comfort in these voyages through the quiet corners of the cosmos, I invite you to gently press the subscribe button. By doing so, you join our crew of dreamers, ensuring that this signal continues to broadcast through the night, bringing new stories of the universe to your bedside. Your support is the gravity that holds this station together. Now, lie still. Let the heavy weight of the day sink into the mattress beneath you. Feel the pull of gravity, not as a burden, but as an embrace. It is holding you safe. It is anchoring you here in this moment while your mind prepares to float away. Imagine for a moment that we are leaving your room. The walls are dissolving into mist. The ceiling is opening up, revealing a sky so vast, so deep, and so beautifully dark that it swallows all sound. You are no longer in your bed. You are floating in an invisible observatory, a sanctuary of glass and silence, suspended in the deep void between galaxies. Look out through the glass. Do you see them? The stars, millions of them, burning white, burning blue, burning red. They look steady, don't they? They look permanent. But that is an illusion of our short lives. If we could speed up time, if we could watch the universe as it truly is, we would see a magnificent unwinding. We are taught that the universe began with a bang, a violent, explosive start. But think of it instead as a clenched fist. In the very beginning, everything, space, time, light, matter, you, me, the mountains, the oceans, was squeezed into a singular point of infinite tension. It was tight. It was hot. It was unbelievably ordered. It was the ultimate state of stress. The universe was holding its breath, every muscle tense, every fiber strained, wrapped in a knot so tight it contained all the energy of existence. And then, it began to exhale. That is what we call the Big Bang. It wasn't an explosion of destruction. It was the beginning of a great relaxation. For 13.8 billion years, the universe has been doing exactly what you are trying to do right now. It has been trying to get comfortable. It has been expanding, stretching out its limbs, loosening that tight knot, spreading its energy out into the cool, empty luxury of space. This brings us to the concept that keeps physicists awake at night, but which should lull you to sleep. Entropy. A word that sounds cold, mathematical, perhaps even frightening. But in the language of the stars, Entropy translates to something much softer. It translates to freedom. It translates to rest. You see, nature hates being boxed in. Nature hates being tense. Energy, left to its own devices, always wants to spread out. It wants to go from a state of concentrated effort to a state of sprawling ease. Think about the air in a balloon. Inside, the molecules are crammed together, bouncing frantically against the rubber walls, desperate, anxious, high pressure. If you untie the knot, what happens? They rush out. They don't rush out to destroy the room, they rush out to inhabit it. They spread until they are evenly distributed, until they are calm, until they are no longer crowded. They seek the state of least resistance. They seek the state of maximum relaxation. This is the second law of thermodynamics. It states that the entropy of the universe is always increasing. It says that everything is moving from order to disorder. But let's strip away the negative connotation of that word disorder. We are trained to think that order is good, a clean room, a perfectly scheduled day, a neatly stacked pile of papers. Maintaining order takes energy. Maintaining order takes work. It is exhausting to keep things perfect. It is exhausting to hold the dam against the river. The universe knows this. The universe is incredibly lazy in the most beautiful way possible. It knows that maintaining a hot star requires immense pressure and fusion. It knows that keeping a planetary system aligned requires a delicate balance of gravity. And so, slowly, imperceptibly, it is letting those structures soften. It is guiding everything toward a state where no more work needs to be done. A state where everything can just exist. From your vantage point in our invisible observatory, watch the distant spiral of a galaxy. It looks like a storm, but it is a storm that is slowing down. The energy is dissipating. The heat is radiating out into the cold. We are moving toward a time, eons from now, where the temperature of the entire cosmos will be perfectly even. No more hot spots. No more cold spots, just a gentle, warm bath of equilibrium. This is the destination. But the journey is where we are now. We are living in the great unwinding. Every time you exhale, you are contributing to the entropy of the universe. Every time you feel the heat radiate from your skin into the cool sheets, you are obeying the second law. You are sharing your energy with the void. You are helping the universe reach its goal of total peace. It is strange, isn't it? To realize that the part of you that wants to be lazy, the part of you that wants to leave the dishes in the sink, the part of you that just wants to lie down and stare at the ceiling, that is the most natural, cosmic part of you. The universe does not judge you for being tired. The universe is tired too. It has been expanding and working and churning for billions of years, and all it wants to do is cool down. All it wants to do is stop the frantic motion of particles and drift into the silence. When you fight against rest, you are fighting against the fundamental current of reality. We spend our lives building little islands of order, our careers, our homes, our reputations. We expend so much energy trying to keep things tight, trying to keep the knot tied. But the river of time only flows in one direction, towards the loosening, towards the unraveling. So tonight, Do not fear the disorder. Do not worry about the things you left undone. Do not worry about the chaos of the world. The chaos is just the universe getting comfortable in its pajamas. The chaos is the sound of the cosmos sighing with relief. You are here in this quiet observatory, protected by glass that is thinner than a breath. Outside, the great dark ocean of space is calm. It is vast enough to hold all your worries and dissolve them, just as a drop of ink dissolves in the sea. The darkness is not empty, it is full of permission. Permission to stop holding it all together. Permission to stop being solid. Permission to become fluid, to drift, to follow the natural slope of existence down into the valley of sleep. The story of entropy is not a story of death. It is the story of a tightly wound clock that is finally allowed to tick its last tock and sit in silence. It is the story of a storm that eventually runs out of rain and becomes a clear, still morning. It is the story of you finally realizing that you do not have to carry the weight of the world because the world itself is putting that weight down. Feel the muscles in your shoulders drop. That is entropy. Feel the tension in your jaw release. That is entropy. Feel your thoughts, which were once racing in a tight circle, begin to drift apart like smoke rings, widening, fading, becoming soft and unrecognizable. That is entropy. You are not losing control. You are gaining peace. You are aligning yourself with the oldest, strongest, most gentle law in existence. The universe is unwinding, and you are a child of this universe. You are made of the same dust, the same energy, the same ancient weariness. If the stars are allowed to burn out, if the galaxies are allowed to drift apart, then surely you are allowed to close your eyes. You are allowed to drift. You are allowed to let the heat of your busy mind dissipate into the cool quiet of the night. We are just getting started on this journey. We have only just glanced out the window of our observatory. Ahead of us lie the mysteries of the ice, the fading fire of the suns, and the ultimate stillness of eternity. But for now, just breathe. Breathe in the order and breathe out the chaos. Breathe in the tension and breathe out the release. The knot is loosening. The string is slackening. The universe is smoothing out the sheets for you. Just as you allow your own breath to lengthen, softening the edges of your day, let us cast our minds back to the moment when the universe took its very first breath. A moment not of destruction, but of the most profound relief the cosmos has ever known. Imagine, if you can, a time before time. Before the silence of this observatory, before the stars that currently dust the view outside our window, before even the velvet darkness of space existed to hold them. We are traveling back 13.8 billion years, moving in reverse through the great unwinding, rewinding the clock until the vastness of everything we know. Every galaxy, every nebula, every grain of sand, and every drop of water is pulled back into a single point. In the textbooks, they call this the singularity. It sounds clinical, doesn't it? A mathematical dot, a dimensionless speck. But to truly understand the nature of the universe's need to relax, we must feel what that state was really like. Close your eyes and imagine the ultimate crowd. Imagine a room that is shrinking. The walls are closing in. The ceiling is lowering. Now fill that room with everything. Not just furniture, but every atom of hydrogen that will ever burn in a star. Every photon of light that will ever travel across the void. Every massive black hole, every Grand Canyon, every storm cloud, all compressed. Squeeze it tighter, tighter than a diamond, tighter than the core of a dying sun. In this beginning, the universe was not relaxed. It was the definition of stress. It was a knot of unimaginable tension. Everything was touching everything else. There was no over there. There was only here. There was no personal space. There was no room to move, no room to vibrate, no room to be. The heat was infinite because heat is just the motion of particles crashing into one another. And in that first moment, everything was crashing. Everything was screaming in a choir of frenetic energy. It was a state of perfect, terrifying order, simply because there was nowhere else for anything to go. It was a clenched fist, knuckles white, holding onto the potential of an entire reality, trembling with the effort of containment. And nature in its infinite wisdom, whispered a single command. The same command your body yearns for when you have been sitting in a cramped chair for too long. The same command your lungs ache for when you have held your breath underwater. Let go. We often call it the Big Bang, a name that implies violence, a name that sounds like a gunshot or a firework. But tonight, let's rewrite that name. Let's call it the Great Stretch. It wasn't a bang. There was no air to carry sound. There were no ears to hear it. It was the silent, majestic opening of a flower that had been tightly budded for eternity. It was the universe realizing it didn't have to be small anymore. It was the sudden, glorious decision to exhale. In the tiniest fraction of a second, a slice of time so thin it barely exists, space itself rushed outward. Not matter moving into space, but space itself being created, unfurling like a magnificent carpet rolling out in all directions. Suddenly, the cramped passengers of the singularity had room. The clenched fist opened its fingers. Imagine the relief of that expansion. Think of the most satisfying stretch you have ever had in the morning. You know the feeling when you wake up curled tight under the covers, your muscles stiff, your joints locked. Then you push your arms out, you push your legs down, you arch your back, you claim the space around you, you feel the blood rush, the warmth spread. That is what happened to the cosmos. The universe inflated. It grew from the size of a proton to the size of a grapefruit, and then to the size of a galaxy, and then beyond, faster than light, faster than thought. And as it grew, something magical happened. The heat began to break. When you are compressed, you are hot. When you expand, you cool down. It is a simple law, a law of thermodynamics, but it feels like mercy. As the fabric of spacetime stretched out, the furious, blinding heat of creation began to dilute. The temperature dropped. The anger of the primordial plasma softened into a glow. The particles, once locked in that frantic, claustrophobic dance, suddenly found they had neighbors who were miles away, then light years away. They stopped crashing into each other with such violence. They began to drift. This is the birth of entropy. We tend to think of entropy as things getting messy, like a spilled cup of coffee or a messy bedroom. But look at it from the perspective of those first particles. Entropy was their liberation. Entropy was the universe saying, you don't have to stay in formation anymore. You are free to wander. You are free to explore the emptiness. Without entropy, without that drive to move from order to disorder, the universe would have remained that tight, hot knot forever. It would have been a prison of perfection. By allowing things to become disordered, by allowing energy to spread out and dissipate, the universe allowed itself to cool. It allowed itself to become a place where things could eventually settle down. Visualize this expansion happening right now in slow motion, outside the glass of our drifting observatory. It is not a chaotic explosion of debris. It is a smooth, liquid spreading. It is like watching a drop of blue ink fall into a clear glass of water. At first, the ink is a tight, dark sphere, dense, opaque, but then it begins to unfurl. Tendrils of blue reach out into the clear water. They swirl and loop, dancing into the empty spaces. The blue becomes paler, softer, covering more ground but with less intensity. That is our universe. We are the ink and the void is the water. We are dissolving into the comfort of space. For thousands of years after the Great Stretch, the universe was just a fog, a thick, opaque soup of light and particles. It was still too hot for atoms to form. It was like a steam room filled with a dense mist that scattered every beam of light. You couldn't see through it, but the stretching continued. The relaxation went deeper. And then, about 380,000 years into this great exhale, a blink of an eye in cosmic time, the temperature dropped just enough. It hit a critical point of comfort. It cooled down to a temperature akin to a red-hot ember. It was cool enough for electrons to slow down, to stop running wild, and to finally settle into orbits around protons. This moment is known as recombination, but let's think of it as the universe finally clearing the air. The fog lifted. Suddenly, light could travel freely. The opacity vanished. The universe became transparent. For the first time, the dark backdrop of space was revealed and the light was free to journey across it. That light is still traveling today. We call it the cosmic microwave background. It is a faint, ancient hum of radiation that fills every corner of the sky. If you could tune an old television between stations, part of that static, that snow on the screen, is the remnant of that first moment of cooling. It is the afterglow of the Big Bang. It is the visible signature of the universe saying, "Ah, that's better." When you look at that static or think of that ancient light, you are looking at the oldest fossil of relaxation. It is proof that the tension broke. It is proof that the grip was released. Think about how much energy it took to hold everything together in that singularity. The sheer effort of unity. And think about how easy it is now for the galaxies to drift apart. They are not rushing away in fear. They are coasting. They are carried by the momentum of that original release. Dark energy pushes them gently, widening the gaps, creating more and more silence between the islands of matter. Sometimes we feel that distance is a bad thing. We fear separation. We fear the emptiness. But in the physics of the soothing soul, distance is necessary for peace. If every star were right next to another, the sky would be blinding white, scorching, and uninhabitable. We need the gaps. We need the hollows. We need the vast stretches of nothingness to give the somethingness meaning. The universe created space so that it wouldn't have to be so intense all the time. It created the void to act as a heat sink, a place to dump its excess energy, a place to cool its brow. As you lie there now, mimic this history. Your body often holds the memory of a singularity, the stress of a deadline, the tightness of a conversation, the density of a worry that sits in the center of your chest like a heavy stone. That is your knot. That is your pre-Big Bang state, but you have the power to enact the great stretch. Imagine the boundaries of your body expanding, not physically, but energetically. Imagine the heat of your anxiety radiating outward, traveling away from you at the speed of light, leaving you cooler, dimmer, softer. Let the space between your thoughts grow. Usually, our thoughts are like that hot, dense plasma bumping into each other, overlapping, loud and bright. But as you enter the state of sleep, you are entering your own inflationary epoch. The thoughts are moving further apart. One thought is here, about a drifting cloud. Another thought is way over there, about the sound of rain. There is a vast, comfortable silence growing between them. You are no longer crowded by your own mind. The expansion is the cure. The expansion is the natural way. The universe has spent nearly 14 billion years perfecting the art of taking up space, of diluting the intensity until it becomes a bearable, habitable calmness. You are drifting through the aftermath of the greatest release of tension in history. We are riding the shock wave of a sigh. It is a slow-motion wave that carries us toward a future of even greater quiet. Feel the luxury of it, the luxury of space, the luxury of not being squeezed. The atoms in your fingertips were forged in the fires that followed that expansion, and now they are here, resting against the soft fabric of your sheets. They have traveled a long way to find the stillness. They have gone from the most crowded room in existence to the private sanctuary of your bed. They deserve this rest, and so do you. As the universe continues to stretch out into the cold dark, it creates more room for dreams, more room for possibility, and more room for silence. The initial violence is long gone. All that remains is the drift. The steady, hypnotic drift of galaxies floating like lily pads on a dark, still lake that keeps getting wider and wider and wider. Let yourself be wide. Let yourself be spacious. The knot is untied. The fist is open. The palm of the universe is flat and smooth, and you are resting right in the center of it, safe in the vastness of the great stretch. And as the great stretch widens the gaps between the stars, leaving the universe breathless with new space, we find that energy begins to seek out every cold corner, like water flowing gently downhill. Picture yourself now, sitting in a velvet armchair on a winter evening. Outside, the world is draped in silence and snow. The window panes are frosted with delicate, icy lace, and the wind whispers secrets against the glass. In your hands, you hold a simple ceramic cup filled with hot tea. Chamomile, perhaps, or peppermint. It doesn't matter. What matters is the heat radiating through the smooth surface into your palms. Close your eyes and feel that warmth. It is localized. It is concentrated. It is a tiny, fierce sun held safely in your grip. But this heat does not want to stay in the cup. It has a wanderlust. It yearns to leave the pottery, to leave the liquid, and to embark on a journey into the cool air of the room. This is where the story of thermodynamics becomes personal. It is the story of sharing. It is the story of generosity. In the language of physics, we say that heat always flows from a hotter object to a colder one. Always. Without exception. It is one of the few arrows of time that we can trust completely. But let's look at this not as a rule, but as a desire. The energy inside that cup is crowded. The molecules of water are dancing a frantic, energetic waltz, spinning and vibrating with intensity. They are wealthy with motion. And the air around the cup, the still, quiet air of your bedroom, is poor in energy. The molecules there are moving sluggishly, lazily, like sleepy bees in late autumn. The universe, in its boundless empathy, cannot abide this inequality. It sees the frantic energy in your cup and the sluggish calm of the room, and it says, "Let us balance this." It opens a door. Slowly, invisibly, the heat begins to migrate. It leaps from the ceramic to the air. It drifts from the surface of the tea in wisps of steam that curl and dance like ghosts before vanishing into the nothingness. You watch the steam rise. It is hypnotic. It twists and turns, thinning out as it climbs until it is gone. But it hasn't disappeared. It has simply spread out. The energy that was once confined to that small, hot vessel is now a part of the room. It has joined the atmosphere. It has warmed the air near your face just a fraction of a degree. It has nudged the sleepy molecules of the room into a slightly faster rhythm. This process, this constant, relentless flow of heat from the concentrated to the dispersed, is the heart of entropy. It is the universe's way of ensuring that no one part holds onto too much for too long. It is a lesson in letting go. Think about how much effort we put into keeping things hot. To keep that tea hot, you would need to wrap it in insulation or put it on a heater or constantly add boiling water. You have to fight against nature to maintain that intensity. But if you just sit back, if you just do nothing, the tea cools. The universe takes over. The universe gently steals the heat, bit by bit, and distributes it to the rest of the world. It smooths out the difference. There is a profound peace in this cooling. When the tea is boiling, it is dangerous. It is agitated. The surface is roiling. But as it cools, the surface becomes still. The molecules calm down. The tea becomes drinkable, then lukewarm, then cool until finally it is exactly the same temperature as the room. It has reached equilibrium. It has made peace with its surroundings. There is no more struggle. There is no more flow. The cup and the room are now in perfect harmony. Now, zoom out from your quiet room to the vastness of the cosmos. The stars are like billions of cups of hot tea scattered across a dark, cold table. Each star is a knot of immense heat, burning furiously against the freeze of space. Our sun is doing exactly what your tea is doing. It is radiating. It is giving itself away. Every ray of sunlight that hits your face, every photon that travels across the 93 million miles to warm the Earth, is an act of thermodynamic charity. The sun is cooling down. It is taking the unimaginable energy stored in its core and throwing it out into the void, saying, "Take this. I don't need to keep it all." This radiation is the mechanism of the universe's relaxation. If energy were hoarders, if heat refused to move, the universe would be a patchy, violent place of extremes, blistering infernos next to absolute zeros. Life as we know it would be impossible. We rely on this flow. We rely on the sun's desire to share its warmth. We rely on the Earth's desire to absorb it, swirl it around in winds and ocean currents, and then radiate it back out into the night. It is a beautiful, endless dance of passing the parcel. Energy moves from the hot core of the atom to the vast reaches of the galaxy. It never flows backward. You will never see a cup of cold tea suddenly draw heat from the room and start boiling on its own. The universe does not work that way. It only moves toward relaxation. It only moves toward the spread. It favors the broad, the open, the shared. Imagine the sheer scale of this generosity. Every second, countless stars are pouring their hearts out into the emptiness. They are not dying in vain. They are warming the fabric of reality. They are filling the silence with light. And even that light, as it travels for millions of years, stretches out and cools. It shifts from the angry blue of high energy to the gentle red of low energy, and finally into the invisible, soothing waves of radio and microwave radiation. The light itself gets tired. The light itself decides to relax. There is a comfort in knowing that nothing can stay intense forever. Your anger, it will cool. Your passion, it will settle into a steady affection. Your grief, it will diffuse, spreading out until it is no longer a sharp point of pain but a gentle, atmospheric background to your life. This is the law. This is entropy at work in the emotional landscape just as it is in the physical one. The universe is slowly stirring the milk into the coffee. You know that mesmerizing moment when you pour cold milk into hot, black coffee. For a second, they are separate, a swirl of white in the dark. Complex, chaotic patterns form. Clouds of cream billow and fold. It is beautiful complexity. But if you wait, the turbulence subsides. The white and the black merge into a uniform, soft brown. The storm in the mug ends. The mixture settles. It becomes one thing, whole and calm. We are living in that swirling phase right now. The universe is still mixing. The stars are the milk swirling in the dark coffee of space. We see the patterns, the galaxies, the nebulas, the chaos of formation and destruction. It is breathtaking. But the destination is the calm, uniform brown. The destination is a smooth, even blend where all the turbulence has faded into memory. Feel the heat of your own body now. You are a biological radiator. You are burning fuel, the food you ate, the air you breathe, to keep your internal temperature at a steady 37 degrees Celsius. But you are also constantly losing that heat to your sheets, to the air, to the pillow. You are part of the great flow. You are not separate from the thermodynamics of the stars. You are a small, warm vessel in a cooling universe. Do not try to hold onto your heat too tightly. Let it go. Let the warmth seep out of your muscles. Let the tension evaporate like that steam from the tea. Visualize the stress leaving your body as a fine mist. drifting up and away, dissolving into the cool night air. The universe can handle it. The universe is vast enough to absorb all your heat, all your worry, without even noticing. You are balancing your ledger with the cosmos. There is a concept in physics called thermal equilibrium. It sounds technical, but it is really just another word for friendship. Two objects in thermal equilibrium have stopped exchanging heat because they are the same. They understand each other perfectly. They have no more differences to resolve. They are at peace. When you touch a metal railing in the winter, it feels cold because you are not in equilibrium. You are giving your heat to it rapidly. But when you hold the hand of a loved one, and after a while, you can't tell whose hand is whose because the warmth has merged. That is equilibrium. That is the goal. The universe wants to hold hands with everything. It wants every atom to be in thermal equilibrium with every other atom. It wants a cosmic cuddle where no boundaries exist anymore. We are far from that final state, billions of years away. But tonight, in the microcosm of your bedroom, you can practice it. You can let the boundaries between you and the bed soften. You can let the temperature of your skin find a comfortable middle ground with the duvet. You can stop generating the heat of overthinking. Think of the energy inside you not as fuel to be burned for productivity, but as a warmth to be savored. When a log burns in a fireplace, it creates light and heat, cracking and popping with purpose. But eventually it turns to embers. Soft, glowing, pulsing red embers. They are quiet. They don't demand attention. They just emit a gentle, steady heat. Be the ember tonight. The fire of the day has burned down. The flames have flickered out. You are now just the soft, glowing core resting in the ash, radiating slowly, peacefully. The heat death of the universe, a term that frightens many, is simply the moment when the last ember finally matches the temperature of the night. It is not a violent death. It is the final cooling of a fever. It is the end of inflammation. It is the universe placing a cool cloth on its forehead and closing its eyes for the last time. But that is a story for the end of time. For now, enjoy the flow. Enjoy the gradient. Feel the pleasure of warmth moving from high to low. It is the same pleasure as water flowing over your hands or a breeze cooling your sweat. It is the sensation of nature doing the work for you. You don't have to push the heat out. You don't have to force the relaxation. Gravity pulls water down and entropy pulls heat out. It is automatic. It is inevitable. So, as you lie there, become a conductor of this peace. Let the hot, jagged thoughts of the day smooth out. Let them flow into the cooler, slower river of dreams. Watch the steam of your consciousness rise and thin out until it is barely there. The cup is on the table. The tea is still. The room is quiet. And the invisible dance of heat continues, wrapping you in a blanket of invisible waves, rocking you gently toward a state of perfect, cool balance. The universe is sharing its warmth with the void, and you are sharing your rest with the night. Everything is flowing exactly as it should. Everything is finding its level. Everything is finding its way home to the cold, quiet center of the dark. Just as warmth inevitably flows from the tight grip of a teacup into the cool freedom of the air, so too does structure seek to release its hold. gently crumbling into a state of beautiful, unrestrained chaos. There is a tyranny in tidiness, isn't there? Think about the effort it takes to maintain perfect order. Consider a deck of cards, fresh from the factory, wrapped in plastic. Every ace followed by a 2, every 2 by a 3, suits aligned in perfect harmony. Spades, diamonds, clubs, hearts. It is a monument to discipline. It is a brick of logic. But the moment you break that seal, the moment you shuffle, something profound happens. You are introducing the universe to that deck. With every riffle, with every bridge, the order vanishes. The King of Hearts finds himself next to the 3 of Spades. The Jack of Diamonds is lost somewhere in the middle. The pristine sequence is broken, never to return. And here is the secret that physics whispers in the ear of the gambler. It is infinitely easier to scramble the deck than to put it back in order. In fact, if you were to shuffle that deck for the rest of your life, shuffling once every second for billions of years, you would almost certainly never, ever see that original factory sequence again. This is the essence of entropy, but let us look at it through the lens of relaxation. We often equate mess with wrong. We are taught from childhood to clean our rooms, to organize our desks, to color inside the lines. We are taught that order is virtuous and chaos is lazy. But the universe, this vast, ancient, wise entity, is inherently messy. It prefers the shuffle. It prefers the scatter. It prefers the sandcastle that has been washed flat by the tide over the one standing tall and rigid against the wind. Think of that sandcastle. You spend hours building it. You pack the wet sand, you carve the turrets, you dig the moat. You are fighting against gravity. You are fighting against friction. You are investing energy, your own biological energy, to create a temporary structure of low entropy. You are forcing millions of grains of sand into a shape they do not naturally hold. And what does the ocean do? The ocean doesn't hate your castle. The ocean just wants the sand to be comfortable. The waves come in, gentle at first, lapping at the base. They take a few grains here, a few grains there. They whisper to the sand, "You don't have to be a wall, you don't have to be a tower, you can just be sand." And slowly, effortlessly, the castle dissolves. It slumps. It slides. It returns to the beach. It becomes a smooth, featureless slope. This return to disorder is not destruction, it is liberation. The sand is no longer under tension. It is no longer defying gravity. It is at rest. It has achieved a state of higher entropy, which is really just a state of higher probability. There are only a few ways for sand to be a castle, but there are infinite ways for sand to be a beach. The universe loves options. It loves the freedom of the shapeless. Now bring this thought into your own life. How much energy do you spend trying to be a castle? How much effort goes into keeping your schedule tight, your appearance polished, your emotions unchecked? We build walls of discipline. We carve moats of boundaries. We construct towers of expectation. It is exhausting work. It requires constant maintenance, constant repair against the eroding waves of daily life. But tonight, in the quiet of this room, you have permission to be the beach. You have permission to let the waves of sleep wash over your mental structures. Let's look at a library. Imagine a vast, grand library with shelves reaching up to a domed ceiling. Every book is in its place, alphabetical by author, categorized by subject, Dewey Decimal System down to the last digit. It is impressive, but it is also static. It is frozen. To keep it this way requires librarians constantly shelving, checking, adjusting. It requires energy. Now, imagine a gentle breeze blowing through an open window. Imagine the books are light as feathers. One by one, they float off the shelves. They drift through the air, swirling, tumbling, landing softly on the floor in a great, colorful pile. To a strict mind, this is a disaster, a mess, a failure of organization. But to the universe, this is a masterpiece of relaxation. The books are no longer standing at attention. They are lying down, they are mingling. Philosophy is touching fiction. Science is resting on poetry. The rigid boundaries between subjects have dissolved. This disorder carries a peculiar kind of beauty. It is the beauty of a wildflower meadow compared to a manicured lawn. The lawn is low entropy, every blade of grass cut to the same height, every weed removed. It takes fuel, labor, and chemicals to maintain. The meadow is high entropy. It is a riot of clover, daisies, thistles, and grasses growing wherever the wind dropped a seed. It requires zero effort. It is self-sustaining. It is wild. It is free. When we say the universe is increasing in entropy, we mean the universe is becoming more like a meadow and less like a lawn. It is moving toward a state where energy is spread out, where particles are arranged randomly, where the strict rules of structure are softened into the ease of probability. The molecules in the air of your room right now are colliding billions of times a second. They are not marching in formation. They are careening like bumper cars in a joyous, chaotic dance. If they were ordered, if all the oxygen molecules decided to huddle in one corner and all the nitrogen in another, you would suffocate. Your survival depends on their randomness. You breathe because they are messy. You live because they refuse to be organized. Their chaos ensures that oxygen is evenly distributed, available to you wherever you move. So, reconsider the mess. Look at the clothes draped over the chair. Look at the tangle of charging cables on the nightstand. Instead of seeing a chore, try seeing a physical manifestation of relaxation. Those objects have found a resting place that required the least amount of energy to maintain. They are obeying the second law of thermodynamics. They are just being natural. Of course, we need some order to live. We need hearts to beat in rhythm, not randomly. We need traffic lights to be synchronized, but we hold onto order too tightly. We worship it. We forget that the default state of reality, the state the cosmos is always pulling us toward, is the unwinding. There is a deep spiritual lesson in statistical mechanics. The formula for entropy, engraved on the tombstone of Ludwig Boltzmann, relates entropy to the number of possible microstates. Basically, the number of ways things can be arranged. A messy room has billions of ways to be messy. A clean room has only one way to be clean. The universe inevitably moves toward the state with the most possibilities. It moves toward the situation where it can be in the greatest number of configurations. What if you applied that to your mind right now? A focused mind has only one configuration, the problem you are solving, the worry you are chewing on, It is a state of low entropy, high tension, but a dreaming mind, a mind drifting into sleep. It has infinite configurations. Dreams are the ultimate high-entropy state of consciousness. In dreams, the logic of the waking world dissolves, gravity fails, time loops, people merge, scenarios shift without warning. Your brain stops trying to maintain the rigid structure of reality and allows the neural firing to become messy, broad, and creative. You are about to enter that beautiful chaos. You are about to shuffle the deck of your day. Let the thoughts come. Don't organize them. Don't file them away. Let them be a pile of books on the floor. Let the memory of breakfast mix with a worry about tomorrow, and let a song lyric from 10 years ago drift in to settle on top of it all. Watch the pile grow. It doesn't need to make sense. It just needs to be. The need to make sense is a high-energy activity. Abandon it. Meaning is for the waking hours. For the sleeping hours, we have something better. We have drift. We have the soft, undefined fog of awareness that doesn't demand definitions. Look at a cloud. Is a cloud ordered? No. Its edges are constantly changing, shredding, reforming. It is a mass of water vapor obeying the whims of the wind. Yet we never look at a cloud and say, "That's messy. Someone should tidy that up." We find peace in its shapelessness. We find beauty in its lack of straight lines. We lay on our backs and watch them change precisely because they are not fixed. They are entropic artists, painting the sky with the brush of disorder. Be a cloud. Let the hard edges of your identity blur. You define yourself all day. I am a worker, I am a partner, I am a parent, I am tired, I am successful, I am failing. Those are bricks in the wall. But as sleep approaches, let the mortar crumble. Let the eye soften. Become a collection of sensations, the warmth of the duvet, the heaviness of the eyelids, the sound of your own slow breathing. When a drop of ink falls into a glass of water, we call the resulting swirl diffusion. The ink spreads until the water is uniformly pale blue. The distinction between ink and water vanishes. This is the universe's ultimate goal: blending, mixing, until there are no sharp boundaries left. You are blending with the night. The sharp distinction between you and not you is softening. The room is dark, and so is the back of your eyelids. The air is still, and so is your body. You are diffusing into the environment. This is why we sleep. Sleep is a nightly surrender to entropy. We allow the carefully constructed persona of the day to fall apart so that it can be rebuilt in the morning. But for now, enjoy the ruins. Enjoy the scattered debris of the self. There is no judgment here. The universe does not judge the scattered leaves on the forest floor. It turns them into soil. It turns the mess into fertility. Your messy thoughts, your scattered mind, this is the fertile soil for tomorrow's energy, but only if you let it be messy. If you try to tidy up your mind right now, you are fighting the tide. You are trying to unmix the ink and the water. It is impossible and it is exhausting. Let the deck fall. Let the cards land where they may. Let the sandcastles slide into the sea. There is such sweetness in this laziness. We are often told that laziness is a vice, but tonight, redefine it. Laziness is efficiency. Laziness is harmony with physics. The rock rolling downhill is lazy. It seeks the lowest point of energy. The river flowing to the sea is lazy. It follows the path of least resistance. Be the rock, be the river. Don't climb the hill of worry tonight. Just roll down into the valley of pillows and blankets. Roll away from the high-maintenance structures of your life and toward the low-maintenance wilderness of sleep. The universe is vast, untidy, and magnificent. It is strewn with debris fields of old stars, clouds of gas that look like spilled milk, and galaxies colliding in slow-motion wrecks that take millions of years to unfold. And amidst all this glorious cosmic clutter, here you are. A tiny, breathing part of the mess, perfectly imperfect, beautifully disorganized. Rest in the knowledge that you don't have to hold it all together. The universe has been falling apart for billions of years, and it is doing just fine. In fact, it's never been more relaxed. Join it. Join the great shuffle. Let go of the need for order and float in the soothing, unpredictable, liberating current of the mess. And just as the scattered deck of cards finds peace in its disorder, so too does the rigid architecture of matter long to soften, to yield, and finally to flow. Consider, for a moment, the nature of ice. Picture a single, perfect cube of ice sitting on a table in a silent room. It is beautiful in its own way, crystalline, sharp-edged, transparent. But inside that cube, if you could shrink yourself down to the size of an atom, you would see a scene of rigid military discipline. The water molecules are locked in a lattice. They are holding hands tightly, forming hexagons, rows, and columns. They are trapped. They want to move, they want to explore, but they are frozen in place. All they can do is vibrate. They shiver in their chains. This is a state of low entropy, yes, but it is also a state of high tension. To be solid is to be stuck. To be solid is to hold a shape that the universe does not necessarily want you to hold. It is an exhausting act of defiance against the natural urge to spread out. We often praise strength. We praise the rock, the steel, the bone. We admire things that are hard and unyielding. But the universe has a soft spot for the soft. It knows that hardness is brittle. It knows that the solid state is often just a temporary pause in a much longer journey toward fluidity. Now, imagine a gentle warmth entering the room. It is not a burning fire, but the slow, heavy warmth of a late afternoon sun. The ice cube begins to feel it. The energy flows in. And what happens? The molecules begin to wiggle a little faster. The vibration turns into a dance. The grip loosens. The intermolecular bonds, those handcuffs of chemistry, begin to snap one by one, not with a bang but with a whisper. This is the phase transition. This is the moment the solid surrenders. Watch the corners of the ice cube. They round off. The sharp edges blur. The cube loses its definition. It is no longer a monument, it is becoming a pool. It is becoming water. Feel that transition in your own body. All day long you have been a solid. You have held your posture. You have held your expression. You have locked your muscles into place to perform tasks, to drive cars, to sit in chairs. You have been vibrating in place, anxious and fixed. But now, the warmth of the bed is seeping into your back. The heat is doing the work for you. It is unlocking the lattice of your spine. It is melting the frost in your shoulders. You are moving from the solid phase to the liquid phase. Entropy increases as ice melts. The water molecules are now free to slide past one another. They have lost their assigned seats. They can wander. They can mix. They tumble over each other in a chaotic, glorious tumble. They have gained what physicists call degrees of freedom. Before, they could only be here. Now they can be anywhere within the puddle. And notice something beautiful about water. It takes the shape of its container. The ice tried to force its shape onto the world. The water accepts the world as it is. If you pour it into a cup, it becomes the cup. If you pour it into a riverbed, it becomes the river. Tonight, you are the water. The bed is your container. Let gravity pull you down until you fill every hollow of the mattress. Do not try to hold your shape. Do not try to hold your head up. Let it sink. Let your limbs splay out. Let your body find the lowest point just as water seeks the sea. This is the wisdom of the liquid state. It does not fight. It flows. It goes around obstacles. It yields to pressure. And in yielding, it survives. The rock cracks under a hammer, but you cannot break water. You can only displace it, and it will simply flow back together again. Imagine now that you are a drop of water in a slow, wide river. The current is gentle, barely moving. You are surrounded by other drops, all moving together, all drifting toward a distant ocean. You don't have to swim, you don't have to steer. The current has you. The universe has gravity, and gravity is the ultimate chauffeur. It creates a slope, and all you have to do is surrender to it. Feel the sensation of drifting. Your thoughts are no longer blocks of ice, sharp and heavy. They are fluid. They merge into one another. The thought of tomorrow melts into a memory of yesterday, which melts into a feeling of warmth, which melts into the sound of your breath. There are no boundaries between them anymore. It is all just a stream of consciousness, flowing steadily, lazily, toward the delta of sleep. But the journey of entropy doesn't end with water. The universe wants even more freedom than the liquid state can offer. It dreams of the sky. Watch the puddle of water again. The sun continues to warm it. The molecules near the surface are getting excited. They are looking up at the vast, empty air above them. They realize that even being a liquid is too restrictive. They want to fly. One by one, they break the final chains of surface tension. They leap into the air. They become vapor. This is evaporation. It is the ultimate act of letting go. The molecule leaves the heavy, crowded collective of the liquid and becomes a ghost. It becomes invisible. It becomes a gas. In the gas phase, entropy is king. The molecules are far apart. They are zipping through empty space, spinning, tumbling, flying miles away from where they started. They fill the room. They fill the sky. A thimbleful of water can become a cloud the size of a city. That is the power of letting go. When you stop holding on, you expand. You become vast. As you lie there, think of your spirit or your awareness or whatever you call the core of you entering this gas phase. The body is heavy, sinking into the liquid mattress. But the mind is evaporating. You are becoming a mist. You are lifting off the surface of the day. The concerns that weighed you down are left behind in the heavy puddle below. You are rising above them. You are thinning out. Fog is a beautiful metaphor for this state. Think of a morning mist rolling over a valley. It softens everything it touches. The sharp peaks of the mountains are shrouded. The dark trees are veiled. The world loses its hard edges. The mist is silent. It dampens sound. It creates a sanctuary of white noise and stillness. Tonight be the mist. Let your awareness spread out until it fills the room. You are not confined to the space between your ears. You are the quiet air in the corner. You are the shadow on the ceiling. You are the darkness under the bed. You are everywhere and nowhere at once. This is the highest entropy state you can achieve while still being you. It is a state of pure potential. A cloud can become rain or snow or ice, or it can just dissipate into the blue. It has no agenda, it just floats. Floating is the antidote to gravity. When you are solid, gravity is a burden. It pulls you down. When you are a gas, gravity is a suggestion. You ride the thermals. You drift on the breeze. We spend so much of our lives trying to be solid. We build reputations like stone walls. We construct arguments like fortresses. We make our bodies hard with tension to deflect pain. But the universe tells us that the ultimate destiny of all matter is to disperse. The stars will eventually burn out and their gas will drift away. The black holes will evaporate. The very atoms themselves may one day drift apart. This is not a sad ending. It is a peaceful one. It is the heat death we spoke of earlier, but seen through the eyes of a tired traveler putting down a heavy backpack. It is the universe saying, you don't have to be something anymore. You can just be. So melt. Start at the toes. Feel the ice there turning to water. Feel them stop pointing, stop flexing. Feel them just exist. Move to the calves, the shins, the knees, hard bone and tight muscle turning into warm, flowing liquid, the thighs, the hips, the heavy basin of the pelvis sinking into the bed, becoming part of the bed, fluid and heavy, the stomach, the chest, the cage of ribs softening, opening, allowing the breath to flow in and out like a tide, the hands, the fingers, uncurling, not grasping anything, not holding onto the phone or the steering wheel or the past, just open, floating. The neck, the jaw, the eyes, the ice behind the eyes melting away, and finally the crown of the head. Imagine the steam rising from it, the thoughts evaporating, the consciousness expanding upward, outward, joining the great atmosphere of the dream world. You are no longer a singular, isolated object. You are a phase transition in progress. You are a part of the water cycle of the cosmos. You rain down, you flow, you evaporate, you rise. It is effortless. It requires no energy from you. In fact, it releases energy. That sigh you just breathed, that was energy leaving the system. That was heat escaping. That was you cooling down. Embrace the blur. Embrace the lack of definition. In the waking world, we need to know where we end and the world begins. In the sleeping world, that line is a fiction. You are the air. You are the blanket. You are the darkness. There is a freedom here that the solid world can never understand. The freedom of the cloud. The freedom of the steam. The freedom of the unattached. Let yourself drift higher. The tether is cut. The anchor is lifted. You are molecules in the void, spinning slowly, safe in the immense, supportive silence of the unwinding universe. You have melted into the flow, and the flow is taking you exactly where you need to go. And as you dissolve into the quiet mist of your own rest, remember that you are in good company, for even the mighty stars above are preparing for their own long and peaceful slumber. We often think of stars as eternal fires, burning with a fury that will never end. We name them, we navigate by them, we wish upon them. They seem like permanent fixtures in the vaulted ceiling of the night. But the truth is softer, more poignant. A star is not a static object. It is a life. It is a process. It is a valiant struggle against the crushing hug of gravity, a struggle that lasts for millions or billions of years. But eventually, inevitably, even the stars get tired. Even the stars run out of fuel. Even the stars need to close their eyes. Imagine looking at the night sky right now. Pick a point of light, any point. That star is working incredibly hard. Inside its core, temperatures reach millions of degrees. Hydrogen atoms are being smashed together, fused into helium, releasing energy in a desperate bid to push outward, to keep the star inflated, to keep it shining. It is a constant, roaring effort. It is the ultimate high-pressure job. But there comes a day when the hydrogen runs low. The fuel tank flickers near empty. The star begins to sputter. It coughs. It trembles. And in that moment, the universe offers it a gift, the gift of retirement. For the most massive stars, this end is explosive, a supernova that briefly outshines entire galaxies. But for the vast majority of stars, including our own sun, the end is much gentler. It is a slow, beautiful exhale. It is a shedding of layers. It is a cosmic undressing. When a star like the sun reaches the end of its life, it doesn't just switch off. It begins to expand. It swells up into a red giant, turning a deep, cooling crimson. It grows so large it could swallow the inner planets. But this growth isn't aggressive. It's a loosening of its grip. The outer layers of the star, once held tight by gravity, start to drift away. They float off into space like smoke rings from a dying cigar. This is the creation of a planetary nebula. Despite the name, it has nothing to do with planets. It is a cloud of gas and dust, the star's own body, drifting outward in intricate, colorful patterns. Blues, greens, reds, violets. These are the breaths of a dying star painted across the canvas of the void. Think of it as the star taking off its heavy work clothes. It casts off its outer envelope, layer by layer, letting them wander into the dark. It gives its substance back to the galaxy. The carbon in your muscles, the oxygen in your lungs, the iron in your blood, all of these were forged in the bellies of such stars and then released in these final, generous acts of letting go. You are walking, breathing stardust that was liberated by a star's nap. And what remains at the center? A white dwarf. The core of the star, stripped of its burning atmosphere, shrinks down. It becomes small, dense, and incredibly hot. But it is no longer fusing. It is no longer fighting. It has stopped the frantic nuclear reactions. It is just glowing. It is like an ember left in the fireplace after the roaring flames have died down. It is slowly radiating its remaining heat into the cold universe. It will do this for trillions of years. There is something deeply comforting about the image of a white dwarf. It is a star that has finished its work. It has completed its assignment. Now, it can simply rest. It cools down degree by degree, century by century, fading from white to yellow, to orange to red, and finally, into a black dwarf, a cold, dark cinder floating unseen in the velvet blackness, a star that has gone to sleep forever. We fear the dark, but for a star, darkness is the ultimate peace. It is the end of the struggle. It is the moment when the energy debt is paid, when the heat has been shared, when the balance sheet is zero. Tonight, as you lie in your bed, think of yourself as a star that has burned through its day. You have fused your energy. You have radiated light and heat. You have held your gravity together. But now the fuel is low. The sun has set. It is time to enter your red giant phase. Let your boundaries expand. Let your influence drift away. Let the worries of the day float off like those beautiful nebula clouds dispersing into the nothingness. You don't need them anymore. They are just gas and dust. Peel back the layers. The layer of what I have to do tomorrow, let it drift. The layer of what I regret about today, let it drift. The layer of who I am supposed to be, let it drift. What is left is the core, the white dwarf of your consciousness, the quiet, glowing ember of you. It doesn't need to do anything. It just needs to shine faintly in the dark, keeping itself warm, slowly cooling, slowly settling. The universe is full of these sleeping giants. When you look up at the Milky Way, you are looking at a graveyard of stars, but it is not a sad place. It is a nursery. The gas they shed becomes the seed for new stars. The silence they leave behind makes room for new songs. It is a cycle of waking and sleeping on a scale we can barely comprehend. But there is a stillness in the space between stars that we can understand. It is the stillness of suspension. The dust grains that float, they are not rushing. They are not commuting. They are tumbling in slow motion, turning once every 1,000 years. They are cold. They are patient. They are waiting for nothing. Entropy loves this dust. Entropy loves the dispersion. A star is a concentrated knot of low entropy. A nebula is a diffuse cloud of high entropy. The universe pushes the star toward the nebula. It pushes the concentrated toward the scattered. It wants the star to stop hoarding its matter and share it with the empty space. Can you feel that pull? The pull to scatter. The pull to stop being a tight knot of personhood and become a cloud of dreams. Your bed is your nebula. It is the cloud that holds you while you transition from the fusion of the day to the cooling of the night. It surrounds you, soft and shapeless, absorbing your heat, absorbing your weight. And consider the silence of space. Sound cannot travel in a vacuum. A supernova, the most violent event in the universe, happens in absolute silence. A star collapsing, silence. A galaxy merging with another, silence. The universe does its most important work without saying a word. We live in a loud world. We are bombarded by noise, traffic, notifications, voices, music, the hum of electricity. But the baseline of reality is silence. Silence is the rule, noise is the exception. When you turn off the lights, when the house settles, you are returning to the baseline. You are syncing up with the rhythm of the cosmos. Listen to the silence in your room right now. It is heavy. It has texture. It is not just an absence of sound, it is a presence of peace. It is the same silence that wraps around the dying ember of a star light years away. It connects you. You and the star are both wrapped in the same quiet blanket. Imagine that your breathing is the pulsing of a variable star, a star that dims and brightens rhythmically. In bright, out dim. In expanding, out relaxing, slower and slower. The intervals stretching out. There is a theory that eventually all the stars will go out. Every single one. The universe will become dark. To some, this is a terrifying thought. They call it the age of starlight ending. But let's reframe it. Think of it as the universe finally getting a good night's sleep after a very, very long day. Currently, the universe is an insomniac. It is bright. It is active. It is churning. It is blinking with billions of eyes. But it yearns for the dark. It is working toward the dark. Every star that flickers out is one heavy eyelid closing. You are mimicking the cosmos in the most profound way possible. You are turning off your internal stars. The neurons that fired all day like solar flares are calming down. The chemical reactions are slowing. The brain waves are lengthening, smoothing out from the jagged peaks of beta waves to the rolling hills of delta waves. You are entering your own dark age, your own quiet era. It is safe here. The darkness is not empty, it is velvet. It is soft. It cushions you. Think of the sheer amount of space between the stars. If the sun were a grain of sand in New York, the next nearest star would be another grain of sand in Los Angeles. That is how much emptiness there is. That is how much room you have to breathe. You are not crowded. You are not pressured. You are a tiny speck of warmth floating in an ocean of cool tranquility. Let your mind drift across that distance. Float from the grain of sand in New York to the grain of sand in Los Angeles. It takes a long time. It is a quiet journey. There is nothing to bump into. There is nothing to avoid. Just miles and miles of peaceful, uninterrupted dark. This is the scale of relaxation we are aiming for, not just a nap, but a stellar hibernation. A rest so deep it aligns with the geological grind of the planets. A pause so profound it mimics the gaps between galaxies. The stars are your ancestors, and they are also your bedtime companions. They are teaching you how to age with grace, how to spend your energy wisely, and how, in the end, to just let go and become part of the background. They don't fear the fade, they embrace it. The nebula is arguably more beautiful than the star it came from. It is bigger. It is more colorful. It is more free. Maybe tonight in your dreams you will visit a nebula. You will float through ribbons of pink hydrogen and clouds of blue oxygen. You will feel no gravity, no up or down, just the gentle drift of expansion. You will see that falling apart can be a work of art. You will see that the end of something tight and hot is the beginning of something cool and vast. The night sky is a lullaby written in light, but the pauses between the notes are where the real sleep lies. The black between the stars is where we are going. We are going into the gaps. We are going into the shade. We are going into the long, cool shadow of the earth as it turns away from the sun. Turn away from your own sun now. Turn your back on the burning light of the day. Face the void. It is friendly. It is waiting. It has been waiting for 13.8 billion years for you to notice it, to trust it, and to close your eyes. Sleep like a star that has done its job. Sleep like a white dwarf cooling in the deep. Sleep, knowing that the universe is holding the watch, and even the universe is slowly nodding off. And if the fading of a single star is a quiet act of retiring for the night, then imagine the profound tranquility of a time when the entire universe decides to sleep at once. We are casting our minds forward now, far beyond the lifespan of the sun, far beyond the age of the galaxies, to a destination that physicists call by a terrifying name, but which we shall call the Great Stillness. They call it the heat death. It sounds violent, doesn't it? It sounds like a fever or a fire, but the reality is the exact opposite. It is the coolest, calmest, most peaceful state that existence can ever achieve. It is not an end in fire. It is an arrival in a soft, endless quiet. Think of a lake. Imagine a lake early in the morning before the birds wake, before the wind stirs. The water is absolute glass. It reflects the gray sky perfectly. There is not a single ripple. There is not a single wave crashing against the shore. If you were to look at the surface, you couldn't tell where the water ended and the air began. It is smooth. It is unbroken. Now, imagine that the universe is currently a stormy ocean. Right now, there are waves, great waves of energy crashing into the shores of matter. Stars are the whitecaps, churning and frothing. Black holes are the whirlpools. Your own life, with its rush and noise, is a splash in this chaotic sea. We live in the era of turbulence. We live in the era of difference. There is hot here and cold there. There is light here and dark there. And because there is difference, there is flow. The water rushes from high to low. The heat rushes from the sun to the earth. Everything is moving because everything is trying to find its level. But the lake implies a time when the level has been found. The heat death is simply the moment when the storm finally runs out of energy. It is the moment when the last wave settles back into the deep. It is the moment when the universe becomes that glass-like surface. Imagine a reality where energy is spread out so perfectly, so evenly, that nothing needs to move ever again. Every cubic inch of space holds exactly the same amount of warmth as every other cubic inch. There are no hot stars to burn you. There are no cold voids to freeze you. There is only a gentle, uniform, tepid bath that stretches for infinity. In this state, the concept of work disappears. In physics, you need a temperature difference to do work. You need a battery with a positive end and a negative end. But in the great stillness, the battery is drained. The positive and negative have merged. There is no potential left. There is no tension left. The universe has clocked out. It has hung up its tool belt. It has retired to a porch that overlooks eternity, and it is never going to lift a finger again. This is the ultimate dream of entropy. Remember, entropy is the measure of disorder, but it is also the measure of how evenly energy is distributed. When entropy reaches its maximum, it means the distribution is perfect. It is democratic. Every atom has shared its wealth with every other atom until everyone is exactly the same. Consider the wrinkles in a bedsheet. When you wake up, the sheets are twisted. There are hills and valleys in the fabric. To smooth them requires effort. You have to pull the corners. You have to flatten the cloth with your hands. The universe right now is full of wrinkles, gravity wells, solar flares, magnetic fields. But time is the great iron. Time is slowly, patiently smoothing out the fabric of spacetime. It is pressing down the hills. It is filling in the valleys. It is pulling the corners tight. We are moving toward a future where the bedsheet of the cosmos is perfectly flat. Not a crease, not a fold, just a pristine, endless expanse of linen, ready for the deepest sleep imaginable. This might sound lonely to our busy human minds, but try to feel the serenity of it. Think of the relief of stopping. Think of the relief of not having to be anything in particular. In the still lake, there are no more structures. There are no more hierarchies. There is no up or down because gravity has leveled out. There is no past or future because nothing is changing. If nothing changes, time ceases to have meaning. A clock in a universe where nothing moves is just a circle. Time is a measure of events, of one thing happening after another. But in the great stillness, the events have finished. The story has been told. The final page has been turned and the book has been closed gently. We are left in the beautiful white margin after the end. This is the Sabbath of the stars. It is the long weekend that never ends. Let this image soothe the part of you that feels rushed. We are always running against the clock. We are always trying to beat time, to save time, to manage time. But the universe tells us that time itself is destined to stop. It is destined to relax into a state of timelessness. Why rush if the destination is a standstill? Why panic if the ultimate fate of the cosmos is a pause? The universe is not hurtling toward a cliff. It is coasting toward a plateau. It is slowing down frictionally, like a spinning top that wobbly, then rights itself, then slows, then finally tips over and comes to a halt on the floor. That moment, when the spinning stops, is pure peace. Visualize your own mind as a microcosm of this thermodynamic destiny. Your thoughts are the high-energy particles zipping around. Your worries are the hot spots. Your fears are the cold spots. You are a turbulent system. But as you lie here, you are practicing the heat death of the ego. You are allowing the energy differences in your brain to equalize. Imagine the hot thoughts of anxiety cooling down. Imagine the cold thoughts of sadness warming up. Imagine them meeting in the middle. They mix, they swirl, and then they settle. The mental storm runs out of rain. The waves in your mind lower. 6 feet, 3 feet, 1 foot, ripples. Glass, you are becoming the still lake. In this state, you are unbothered. A rock thrown into a stormy ocean creates a splash, but the ocean fights back. A rock thrown into a still lake is accepted. The ripples move outward and vanish. The lake returns to silence. Be the lake. Let the disturbances of the world hit the surface of your sleep and simply dissipate. Do not fight them. Just be vast enough to absorb them. The great stillness is also a form of perfection. A perfect circle, a perfect silence, a perfect balance. We spend our lives striving for perfection, usually by adding things, more money, more skills, more friends. But thermodynamic perfection is reached by subtraction, by removing the gradients, by removing the urge to flow, by removing the need to be distinctive. It is a form of oneness. In the end, we are all just energy, and in the end, that energy will be shared equally with the void. There will be no you and no me, just us, a unified field of gentle warmth spanning the darkness. We are marching toward a grand reunion where the boundaries between things are erased by the passage of eons. This is the unwinding in its final form. The toy has wound down. The spring is fully loose. There is no tension stored anywhere in the machine. Listen to the room you are in. Is it quiet? That silence is a preview. It is a trailer for the movie of the future. The universe loves that silence. It protects it. Space is a vacuum, a giant insulator, keeping the silence intact. We often talk about energy crises on Earth, about running out of power. But in the cosmic perspective, running out of power is the goal. We want to run out. We want to spend it all. We want to give every last jewel of excitement back to the vacuum. When the tank is empty, the car stops. And when the car stops, you can finally get out, stretch your legs, and look at the view. The view from the end of time is indistinguishable from the deepest, most dreamless sleep you have ever had. You know that feeling when you wake up and you don't know who you are or where you are or what time it is. You just feel soft. You feel heavy. That split second before the world comes rushing back, that is the heat death. That is the still lake. Tonight you can stay in that split second. You can expand it. You don't have to let the world rush back in. You can linger in the equilibrium. Float on the surface of this imaginary lake. The water is the same temperature as your skin. The air is the same temperature as the water. You cannot feel where your body ends. You are suspended in a solution of total peace. There is no horizon. There is no shore to swim to. There is no reason to swim at all. Drift. Let the current take you, but there is no current, so just stay. Stay in the center of the vastness. The stars above you in this vision have all gone out. The sky is pitch black, but it is not scary. It is like being in a womb. It is warm, dark, and protective. There are no monsters in the dark because there is no energy left to create a monster. There is nothing lurking because nothing can move. It is just safety. Infinite, unconditional safety. The death in heat death is a misnomer. It should be called the heat rest. The heat slumber. The heat peace. It is the universe finally being comfortable in its own skin, no longer needing to change, no longer needing to grow, no longer needing to prove anything. It just is, and you just are. You are a ripple that is fading. You are a wave that is settling. You are a heat source that is cooling. You are joining the great, flat, beautiful calm of forever. Let the stillness enter your bones. Let it sit heavy on your eyelids. The struggle is over. The storm has passed. The lake is glass. The reflection is perfect. Sleep now in the arms of the ultimate equilibrium. From that timeless horizon of the still lake, let us now gently reel ourselves back across the ocean of eons, back past the dying embers of the stars, back through the swirling mists of the nebulas, arriving softly, safely, into this very moment, into this quiet room, into this body, heavy and warm, resting on the bed. You might feel small after looking at the grand scale of the cosmos. You might feel that your life, with its little worries and its nightly rhythms, is insignificant compared to the heat death of the universe. But the secret I want to leave you with tonight is that you are not separate from this process. You are not watching the universe unwind from the outside. You are the universe unwinding. You are a microscopic echo of the macroscopic truth. Everything we have spoken about, the expansion, the cooling, the scattering, the letting go, is happening right now inside of you. Look at your hand, resting still on the covers. The atoms that make up your skin are the ancient travelers we spoke of. They were forged in the high-pressure knots of early stars. They have traveled through the freezing void. And now they have come together for a brief, miraculous moment to form you. But even as they hold the shape of your fingers, they remember the drift. They remember the freedom of the gas phase. And tonight, as your consciousness begins to dim, they are rejoicing in the rest. Your body is a heat engine, constantly working to maintain order. But sleep is your truce with entropy. Sleep is when you stop fighting the tide. When you are awake, you are gathering, organizing, thinking, building. You are low entropy. You are tight. But when you sleep, you allow yourself to become high entropy. You allow your temperature to drop slightly. You allow your muscles, which were tight bands of potential energy, to slacken into ropes of dead weight. You allow your thoughts, which were structured like architecture, to crumble into the surreal, disorganized landscape of dreams. Do not see this falling apart as a weakness. See it as an alignment. When you feel that heavy wave of exhaustion pulling you down, do not fight it. That is gravity. That is the same force that hugged the stars into existence. When you feel your mind wandering, unable to focus on a single thing, do not force it back. That is diffusion. That is the ink spreading in the water. That is the universe telling you that you have done enough order creation for one day. Now it is time for chaos. Now it is time for the blur. You are a vessel of energy, and tonight you are uncorking that vessel. You are pouring your awareness out into the night. Think of the heat radiating from you right now. It is leaving your body and entering the mattress, the pillow, the air. You are warming the world around you. You are sharing your existence with the room. In a very literal sense, the boundaries between you and your surroundings are blurring. Thermodynamics does not see a sharp line where your skin ends and the air begins. It just sees a gradient. It just sees a gentle slope of warmth. Slide down that slope. There is a profound comfort in realizing that you don't have to carry the weight of being you all the time. The universe doesn't have an ego. The universe doesn't worry about its reputation. It just flows. And tonight, you are invited to join that flow. Imagine a leaf falling from a tree. It doesn't try to steer. It doesn't try to stop. It creates a path of least resistance, spiraling down, surrendered completely to the air and gravity. Be the leaf. Your day was the tree, high up, attached, drinking in the sun. But the day is over. The stem has snapped. You are floating down to the ground, down to the roots, down to the place where things decompose and turn into new life. Every breath you take is a syncopation with the cosmic rhythm. Inhale. The universe expands. Exhale. The universe relaxes. Inhale. You gather life. Exhale. You let go of what you don't need. Follow that exhale. Follow it all the way to the bottom of your lungs. There is a little pause there right before the next breath. A tiny silence. That pause is the heat death. That pause is the still lake. That pause is where you are going. You are not fighting against the dark, you are made of it. The darkness behind your eyes is the same darkness that sits between the galaxies. It is your home. It is your origin. It is your destiny. So let the narrative of your life dissolve. The story of who you are, what you did today, what you have to do tomorrow. These are just clouds of gas. Let the solar wind blow them away. Let them scatter. Beneath the story, there is just the hum of existence. The quiet, steady vibration of atoms that are safe, atoms that are eternal, atoms that are resting. You are unwinding. The knot in your stomach is loosening. The string is going slack. The frown on your forehead is smoothing out. The wrinkles of worry are being ironed flat by the weight of sleep. The hands are opening. The grip is gone. The legs are heavy, sinking into the earth, sinking into gravity. You are flowing. You are no longer solid. You are a liquid river of peace, moving slowly toward the ocean of unconsciousness. The universe is vast and cool and quiet, and it is holding you. It has wrapped you in a blanket of space and time, and it is whispering the oldest law of physics into your ear. Everything seeks rest. You are everything. Therefore, you seek rest. There is nothing left to hold on to. The deck of cards is shuffled. The ice has melted. The tea has cooled. The star has faded. The lake is still. Drift now. Drift on the current of entropy. Drift into the beautiful, messy, comfortable dark. You are safe in the chaos. You are safe in the silence. Let go of the words now. Let go of the voice. Let go of the meaning. There is only the flow, just the flow, soft, easy, quiet, expanding, releasing, drifting. You are stardust sleeping. You are heat cooling. You are the universe finally, fully relaxing. Good night.